did her MA, PhD, and double MA. She is a licensed therapist and supervisor in marriage and family. She joined Ex-Rotary Club of Duarte in 1982 and has held each and every office of club level. She has made clubs in England, Scotland, Caribbean, Australia, South Africa, and India. She has chaired four-way test speech competitions for 6 years. Along with this, she has chaired Ambassadorial Scholarships Committee, Simplified Grant Program, served District Finance Committee as Assistant Governor, and further as District Governor. She is representative of Rotary Foundation District Service Award. She is also recipient of Sylvia Whitlock Award she established, which she established herself and presented in 2017 at International Convention. She is a multiple Paul Harris Fellow, benefactor and member of Bequest Society and a major donor. She has shared her valuable inputs in more than 100 district conferences and numerous clubs across the world. She has addressed 530 incoming governors and honorary members and are at other Rotary clubs. She has got various Rotary activities which she has completed, where she was involved with different institutes, hospitals, and other authorities. At the same time, she has also various academic activities which she has pioneered. She has three adult children whom she enjoyed bringing up. She is loved and cared by all her children and grandchildren. She is a world traveler, and I'm so happy to present before you Rotarian Sylvia Whitlock. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, good day, evening, whatever it is where you are. I hope it's a good one. So we're talking about the tomorrow. We're on the edge of tomorrow. And now it's a tomorrow when we hope the coronavirus will have disappeared. We're waiting for that. But before the coronavirus, we were busy Rotary, trying to eradicate polio from the world. It's only endemic in one place now, in Pakistan. Although this past week, there was a wild polio virus event in Mozambique. So every now and again, something pops up. This past year, we had Pakistan, Afghanistan, and now Mozambique. But it will go. And of course, now we've already seen for 35 years the acceptance of women in Rotary. Maybe not many of you were members of Rotary 35 years ago. And maybe some of you, if you're a young member or a new member, don't know that there was a time when women couldn't be Rotarians. See, I knew because I was a school principal in this small district called Duarte. And as part of my job, I went to visit with the superintendent of schools to find out what the community was like, because that, you're serving the children of the community, you want to know what it's like. And my superintendent just happened also to be president of the local Rotary Club. So when I went in to talk to him about the community, he said, "You don't need to worry about this community because we have a Rotary Club here." Well, at that time, Rotary didn't mean very much to me. What I knew about Rotary then could have been loosely written on the head of a pin. I didn't know anything about Rotary. I knew about Kiwanis. You know about Kiwanis? Know what Kiwanis means? It means waiting to get into Rotary. A Kiwanian told me that. Well, but I also knew about Elks. They wear those interesting hats. And I knew about Lions because Lions provide the eyewear for the kids in school, eyeglasses and so on. And I, as a school principal, I knew about it. But I literally had never heard about Rotary. Not an uncommon occurrence. I knew that in my district, they were locked into uh, a struggle with a small club. And I'll tell you a little bit about the legal wrangling and some of the funnier things that happened, some of the funnier experiences. So Duarte was where this club was. There's a small bedroom community just a little bit east of Pasadena, where the Rose Parade comes from every New Year's Day. The biggest businesses in this district were the City of Hope Cancer Hospital. You may have heard of that renowned cancer hospital. And of course, the Duarte Unified School District. And of course, it was a small club, struggling as we all do to raise membership. Remember, that's what our struggle was, to raise membership. The year was 1976, not 1982, but the news has all kinds of different dates. 1976, and the superintendent of schools, Richard Key, thought, you know, I have in my school district a lot of people who would be capable Rotarians. You know, I have psychologists, I have journalists, I have principals, but we don't have women in Rotary. He said, I think I'll go talk to the district governor about it. And he went to talk to the district governor. I won't tell you his name because he didn't pass the 4-way. Okay. He went to the district governor and explained all the reasons why he thought he should invite women to join Rotary. And the district governor agreed with him. But he said, when you register them, Dick, instead of sending in their full names to International, just send in their first name initials. You know, so S. Whitlock could be Stephen Whitlock. You know, M. Elliott could be Michael Elliott. Could be anything like that. Just do that. So that's what Dick did. He registered them using only initials. And of course, the fact that they were women was unknown. Well, everything went along swimmingly. The women did what Rotarians do, except one member of the club resigned. He said he could literally see the death of the club. You know what? He was trained to recognize death. He was our club, he was the undertaker in the district. So when he left, we had to look for another undertaker to fill that classification. But the woman entered wholeheartedly into the spirit and the work of Rotary. Yard sales, snow cones for the city picnic, breakfast with Santa Claus, breakfast with the Easter Bunny, Thanksgiving baskets, all the things that Rotarians do. But they also got busy planning their first event, the 25th anniversary of the club, the 25th anniversary of the club. And of course, International sent representatives, as they always do, to recognize milestones of clubs. Well, at the festivities, the 25th anniversary party, the women were introduced. Huh. To the consternation of the representatives. They said, we don't have women in Rotary. And somebody said, this club does. Well, the women were introduced and the representatives stayed for the rest of the party. And then they went back to Evanston. And it didn't take long for them to write back to Duarte, telling them 3 things. Well, women are not allowed in Rotary. The women need to be asked to leave. If the women don't leave, the club may not call itself a Rotary Club. Boom, 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 just like that. Well, the club took a vote and decided it would not ask the women to leave. Instead, it asked to appeal the put to the board of directors, the all-male board of directors. And it was told it could not appeal to the board because it had to be a real Rotary Club to appeal to the board. Well, it decided it would appeal to the Council on Legislation. And it was interesting for me because a couple of weeks ago, I was the district rep to the Council on Legislation. It was interesting to see what must have happened. Well, the Council on Legislation, uh, listened to people, and it was meeting that year in Tokyo. So one of our members had to take the issue to Tokyo. But it was an interesting situation when it came up. It was not whether women should be permitted to be members of Rotary, but it was whether the Rotary Club of Duarte had violated Rotary bylaws by inviting women. Well, of course they had. Well, that was what the COL was voting on. And the vote, which actually was against women, was at that time 1,000 to 37. There were 37 people who thought there should be women in Rotary, whatever the issue was. And it's interesting to see how that happens. This last COL, there were probably maybe 800 people total. This time there were over 1,000. Well, there were 37 people who were sympathetic to the issue about women in Rotary. And I met one of them in Calgary in the late 80s. The convention was in Calgary, and I was in Calgary on a train going from the suburbs into the convention center. And there was a gentleman and his wife sitting on the train across from me, and they were all tagged. And you know how you read Rotary tags to see where people are from. And the gentleman said to me, "Are you from the club in Duarte that got women into Rotary?" And I smiled this big smile. And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "I voted for women in Rotary because I always thought they should be there." And his wife, who had been sitting quietly, looked up and said, "Well, I didn't think so then, and I don't think so now." And I thought, oh my God, did I say something? Maybe I looked wrong way. Well, she said, "We don't want men going to meetings at night with women and Lord knows what. So see if you men out there, you probably were not trustworthy." Well, I said, it's not a social club. It's a service club. But she didn't want to hear about it. She didn't believe in women in Rotary. And you know what? There were lots of women who did not want Rotary to accept women. The times were changing, and these were people who were not changing. Well, a council on legislation, this wasn't the first time they were hearing an issue on women in Rotary. Believe it or not, there was an issue brought to them from India when the COL met in Detroit. They had put an item to change the bylaws about women on the agenda. But it was defeated, it was voted down, and the club didn't press it. It just went away. But even more interesting, the first Rotary Constitution did not specify that Rotarians had to be men. It just said persons of good character. That was a time when there were few women in the workaday world. And because men were the ones engaging in fellowship and business activities, the bylaws just evolved into men of good character. If I could ask Paul Harris a question today, it would be, would you have accepted women into Rotary? Would you have initially excluded them? Jack Davis, who was then president of Rotary International at the time, he said, "The unity of Rotary International was jeopardized by the unilateral move of the party club." I think we did that. So what do you think they did? They sent a delegation to Duarte and they asked us to turn in our charter. We had to relinquish our charter. They said, "Women are not in Rotary, so you may not be a Rotary club if you insist on having these women." So I had to turn in our charter. But Bill Brooks, who was one of our members at the time, said, "That's okay. We won't call ourselves a Rotary Club. We know what to do. We'll just call ourselves the Ex-Rotary Club of Duarte." And I'll see if I can show you a pin. You see, we just put an X over the Rotary pin and we became the Ex-Rotary Club of Duarte. And do you know what? We were the Ex-Rotary Club of Duarte for 11 years. For all of you who thought this was going to be a slam dunk into us, it took 11 years to get this through all the litigation. Well, a Rotarian attorney from a neighboring club, Sanford Smith from the Rotary Club of Arcadia, said, you know, I think we can take this to the courts. I think we'll work on this. So as we prepare to take it to California courts, Rotary petitioned that the case be heard in federal court because, as it said, not all members of the board of directors are Californians. But you see, the real reason was there had been a precedent in federal court where a New York club had been seeking exclusionary rules for private club membership. The federal court ruled that the result was complimentary to New York, but the federal court ruled that the case should be heard in a California court. So it was first heard by the California Superior Court, which didn't waste any time in upholding Rotary's right to expel the club. Remember again, we're thinking club members. We're thinking membership. We're not thinking civil rights, which was what this really was, a civil right. Well, we knew we were going to appeal the case because we didn't want to go to sleep on it. So Sanford did his work and he found out that there is an act in California, as there are probably in most states and in many countries, that ban discrimination in public accommodation. And Rotary was a public accommodation because of the classification system. It was available all over through all the classifications. And at that time, when this was happening in the 70s, 80% of the Rotary members had their dues paid by their employers. It was a public accommodation. So this was the Unruh Act, UNRUH, Unruh Act. So Sanford went to the Court of Appeals with the Unruh Act and appealed the Superior Court's decision. And the court ruled that the club should not be expelled. It reversed that Superior Court decision. But Rotary International wasn't going to sit on this. They immediately appealed to the California Superior Court. If you're following the Superior Court and a Court of Appeals, and then the next step was the California Supreme Court. They appealed to the California Supreme Court, which refused to hear the case, which, essentially was affirming the decision of the appellate court. But that decision was incumbent on all California clubs. Only California, this was a state decision. And so we moved on. However, before women, things changed very slowly in Rotary. This was the year that I was coming in as president. And as a president-elect, all president-elects go to pets. I was invited to pets. But they had a whole stock of postcards that they sent out to those pets events. And why should they change them? Because now there's a woman. They sent me the same old postcard that told me where pets would be, and it reminded me to bring my coat and tie as directory pictures. Well, I took my coat and tie, and I was there, the only woman with 290 men. As a school principal, I was not intimidated. The men were wonderful. The only woman there. The men were cordial, they were polite, they were interested in what was going on. But the nicest thing about that proportion, 290 men and one woman, can you imagine? The nicest thing was that during restroom breaks, there were long lines outside the men's restrooms. And as I said, this was 35 years ago, I could just kind of sashay past into the women's restroom. And I would go in the women's restroom, and then I would come out and I would say, nobody else is going in there, so you gentlemen may use the women's restroom. Well, there was not even one female speaker there. But at the section on Rotary International, I heard our incoming governor, I won't identify him either, our incoming governor, he passed away last year, and he became my friend afterwards. I heard him discuss the case, and he told us that Rotary International will appeal to the United States Supreme Court. And we have every reason to believe we. He added, in direct reference to the small size of our club, it's just a case of the mouse that roared. And of course, we didn't lose that chance to make a mouse pin. Can't show you the pin. A mouse. Anyway, when he said they would appeal to the United States Supreme Court, I couldn't believe it because I knew a little bit about the Supreme Court. You're going to love this. This was the time I knew about Roe versus Wade. Hey, we know a lot about Roe versus Wade today, don't we? Well, I also knew about Brown versus Board of Education in Topeka, which was an integration case. Well, I didn't think the Supreme Court would hear our case because I'm looking at this as a membership issue. Of course, it was not a membership issue. It was a civil rights issue. Well, I didn't think anybody in that time would be appealing a case to the United States Supreme Court. My private opinion was that it wasn't important enough to be heard, but my private opinion was not worth too much. Or I did appeal because, as one of their attorneys so commonly put it, they're forcing us to take everyone in just like a motel. RI's argument was that the ruling violated their First Amendment right of association, and they should choose. But the Supreme Court did take the issue, and on May the 4th, 1987, the court found that considering the size, purpose, selectivity, and exclusivity of Rotary's membership, the relationship among the club's members was not of the intimate or private variety that warranted First Amendment protection. Well, the decision did come down. Okay, and writing for the unanimous court, and Sandra Day, it was 7-0. Sandra Day O'Connor did not vote because her husband was a Rotarian and some things are sacred. Justice Powell argued that many of Rotary's activities, including their meetings, are conducted in the presence of strangers. And because women members would not prevent the club from carrying out its purposes, there was no violation of associational rights. Furthermore, he said, and I'm going to read this because this is important. Furthermore, he said, even if there were a slight encroachment on the rights of Rotarians to associate, that minimal infringement would be justified since it serves the state's compelling interest in ending sexual discrimination. And see, and there it was. So the decision was now incumbent on all USA clubs. Oh, it was announced in New York City, in the East, in the morning, 7 in the morning. And here we are in California, which is 3 hours later. I was driving to my job as principal of an elementary school when the news came over the airways. I was on the freeway. And I couldn't believe it. I had the radio on and I was looking around to see if anybody else looked like they were listening to that station. Well, by the time I arrived at the school, some 20 minutes later, I think all the media in the world were on my doorstep. So were all the kids, wondering, what are all these cameras doing? What are all the television cameras doing here? And Vicky, who was a smart guy, said, you principals need to leave your schools and come to the district office. We can't have all this stuff going on at the schools. You know, television cameras, reporters, and so on. So Mary Lou Elliott, who was the first woman invited, and we left our schools. We went to the district office and we met veteran newscaster Warren Olney, who was interviewing for the networks. So we sat in the boardroom and I was asked many questions because I was the incoming president. See, I was the only one with any sense, they assuming there. I was the incoming president, so they directed all the questions at me. And I thought I gave studied and pretty intelligent answers. Near the end of the interview, some maybe 3 hours later, in fact, we were already on our feet, Warren only asked me how I got selected to be president. What happens when you ask Rotarians that question? They have this dumb answer. Oh, I don't know. I must have missed a meeting. And I can't believe to this day, 35 years, that's what I said. Oh, I don't know. I must have missed the meeting. You want to know something? That evening, the story was the top of the news, I mean, the first item on the news on all the news stations. And what do you think they played? My inane and embarrassing response. Oh, I don't know. I must have missed the meeting. And there are people out there looking and saying, for 11 years, we waited to hear this. Well, I started to learn then of the capriciousness of the media. And I knew that I was going to have to adopt a more serious mode. So back at the club, we had to move our place. We had to move our meeting place because we couldn't accommodate all the visitors. We were meeting in a little at a coffee shop and a golf club, and we had to get a bigger place because there were people who wanted to come in and see this club. The press was as curious as it could be. But I learned how to be circumscribed in any and all answers that I would give about this case. And this was also my year as incoming president. And I had to settle into the goals we had set, which at that time included polio plus, way back then, while the whole world was watching to see what we were going to do. We had some interesting telephone calls, including one that asked if the food were any better now that there were women in Rotary. And I explained, you know what? We weren't cooking it. We were eating the same rubber chicken everybody else was eating. Well, we also, some were less pleasant. This was before DEI, so we had some calls that said, now that you have a woman in Rotary, I guess the next thing is to have in Rotary. And I said, actually, we kill those two birds with one stone because I'm a Black woman. Well, we didn't get a welcome back from Rotary International, but we did get a new due schedule. And in 1989, following an impassioned plea by Frank Devlin, who died 2 years ago, he was a friend of women, the Council on Legislation voted to accept women members into Rotary. But it was not until April 2004, 17 years after the decision, that the Rotarian printed several articles about women in Rotary. And then I was interviewed and I was the centerfold. Don't get excited. I was fully dressed. I was warned by the photographer to wear a black turtleneck sweater and all of that stuff. So Rotary has removed finally the last vestiges of sexist language so that now they profit most, serve the best, they, not men. And even more new, a club may not be chartered unless its membership is open. The operative word is open to both men and women. This didn't start as a women's issue, but as a simple attempt to recruit more members into Rotary. How successful has that been? Can men and women work together in Rotary? They have for 35 years. About maybe 30% of the members in the US are women, and around the world, a little less, about 20-something% are women. So there's still room for growth. So that was the beginning of my journey through the humanitarian organization that is Rotary. The realization of the opportunity to serve an ever shrinking, the opportunity to meet men and women who can see and articulate a need and a solution, no matter how difficult the way or how meager the resources. Am I on a time crunch now? Can anybody tell me how much time I have left?
No, you can continue. No.
Well, all right. Margie Ogby, who was president of Rotary, said, Women serve alongside men in every segment of life, in education, in medicine, in warehouses, and in construction. Why not in Rotary? So I was in an incredibly fortunate place when this all happened because it has brought such bounty into my life. And you know, I've served my district with we've gone on. We've sunk water wells in Jos, Nigeria, established an AIDS clinic in Jamaica. Some of those members are here today. And we supported an orphanage in Mexico. I was part of a NIDS campaign in India. I also support very heavily Deeper Willingham School in Piali Junction, right near Kolkata in India. But there is very little that consider, and I recommend the NIDS because there's nothing that compares with the feeling that through Rotary you may have saved the life of that child into whose mouth you placed those inoculating drops and contributed to the eradication of a dread disease. And of course, all these activities are done with the help of the Rotary Foundation, which provides the backbone of the humanitarian work that we do at Rotary. I stretch my money and give everything I can to the Rotary Foundation because they're the ones who do all the work. We remember when polio was a huge problem. I remember when I lived in New York and swimming pools were closed because polio was rampant and kids couldn't go into the water in swimming pools. When we succeed in eradicating polio with the help of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, WHO, UNICEF, and CDC, it will only have been the second disease wiped out from the face of it, first being the dreaded smallpox. In India also, I met Rotarians to whom service about self is the creed by which they live there. They give not of just of themselves, not just of their money, but of themselves. My grandmother taught me service about self. She set me an example in a caring way. And I do believe that until we meet the needs of people for food, clothing, shelter, clean water, sound environment, healthcare, education, and all the basics, there is no place in which they can receive and absorb and respect the concept. Positive peace is now an avenue of service, courtesy of the COL this past. My project in my district, I explained, was the Education Girls Program by Deepa Willingham, and I support that school wholeheartedly. And I do not accept gifts from clubs to whom I speak. I always ask them to send their contributions to the school at Piali Junction in India, courtesy of Kolkata Club and Metropolitan. We are citizens of the world. Every action, however remote or seemingly far removed, has a ripple effect on us and all others. Listen to the news from around the world and look at the effect that it has on us. To the extent that they are well, we are well. I think daily of Martin Luther King's remind us to ask ourselves each day, what have we done to help someone? To whom much is given, much is expected. When we give even 3 times a day, as I used to explain to my members, it is from the bounty with which we have been blessed, and we hardly even. But attracting members to help us do the good work is the key. We wear Rotary pins as ID pins, but can anyone notice in your pin tell that it says Rotary International? If they can, do they know what Rotary International is? I fly a lot, mostly on airplanes. Good way to attract someone's attention is to drop your pin on the floor in front of you. Ever try to pick up anything from the floor in front of you in an airplane? Or while you're struggling, if that person sitting next to you would make it with Rotarian, they would help you make your pin. Pick up your pin and they would ask you, what is that? And you explain what the pin is, give them the little brochure that says what is Rotary, direct them to their Rotary club, get them to it. Stop and explain what it represents. And you're just told one more person about Rotary. If you don't have that little brochure, write a speech, an elevator speech. Write it tonight if you don't have one. Right after you take off your Rotary pin to put it on your pajamas. explain to that person sleeping next to you how important you think Rotary is. And the next day, around the water cooler or the coffee machine, I bet they will laugh about the wearing of it. But the bottom line is that a few more people will have heard about Rotary and may be attracted to membership. So I'm a Rotarian, with other Rotarians in this ever-shrinking world. We work to make it a happier place, cleaner, more self-sustaining, more peaceful than it was when we came into it. Work now to invite and attract young people, not just as Rotaractors, interactors, all the other people. Ambassadorial Scholars, Weiler, Youth Exchange, GSAT members of our programs. But just as it was right in the 70s for women to be included in service, so it's right now for us to focus on young people, new generations with all their energy and zeal, fine men and women of character who, in service above self, will know that they profit most, serve the best, and they will wholeheartedly engage Rotary and change lives. Thank you for this. I will try to answer any question. Fair question.
Thank you.
Thank you, PDG Sylvia, for such an excellent information. Sandeep, on to you, please.
Thank you, PDG Sylvia, for your enlightening talk regarding your journey regarding entries of women in Rotary and your journey and overall experience in Rotary. I now would now request past President Vijay Kevalramani to conduct a question and answer session.
Friends, after this energetic talk, we have learned the history about women coming in Rotary. Anybody would like to ask a question, please raise your hands. We would unmute you and allow you to ask a question, or you can also post it on the chat, so we will take it up.
I think Dr. Hancock has a question.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Yes, Dr. Yes,
I'm
Dr.
unmuted
Hancock.
now. Anyway, Sylvia, thank you for being with us and your leadership and the positive dynamic that you're bringing to Rotary throughout the world. In our Rotary Club of South Richmond and Richmond, Virginia, about a year or so when we heard that this was going to the Supreme Court, we actually started making a list of female members for our club. Once the decision was positive and handed down, we actually submitted 3 names and they were accepted within the first year. So we were really very proactive as far as having females in Rotary. And I went through this through the JCs as well, of having female members within the JCs. So looking back on the 35 plus years that you've been in Rotary, how do we continue to expand even more females? My club is almost 50-50. We're getting more female members, but I know that other clubs do not have such a positive mix. How do you think we should reach out to more females to get them involved in Rotary?
You know, if we pay attention to the DEI objectives now, we realize diversity also means female. It's not just color, ethnicity, and so on. It also means gender. And equity, again, addresses females. Inclusion addresses females. If we press those aspects and those attitudes and look for females. You know, when I became a Rotarian, you had to be a CEO or somebody in charge in your wherever you worked or so on. Now it doesn't have to be that way. Now you can have a teacher who's in Rotary. Now you can have someone who has a lesser job, a clerical kind of job. They make good Rotarians. You know, the Rotaractors were moving into Rotary, you know, also, and there are a lot of females. That's what we need to do, is remember that we're not looking for bosses. We're not looking just for people. We can train people to be leaders. We can grow interactors into Rotarians.
Right.
And that's also a good thing to do. We have Interact. We can group interactors into interactors, interactors into Rotaractors, Rotaractors into Rotary. Let's keep going.
I'll finish with one statement. We have what's called the rule of 35. I think we're the first probably in the world that's done this, but we recruit new members into our regular Rotary Club between the ages of, in essence, 20 to 35, young professionals moving up. And we actually subsidize their dues and also their lunches. And we have, open invitation to the Rotaractors to participate, and they participate in every one of our community service projects, both in Washington, D.C. and internationally as well. So we dropped our average age, tremendously because we're coming in. And also you made the very correct point. It's inclusion of everyone. And so we have a very, very diverse club, and we're very proud of that. And so thank you for your leadership and speaking with us today. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Just yeah.
PAG Cheryl, you can ask your question.
Hi, Cheryl. You're muted.
Cheryl, we are not able to hear you. No, she's not. Yeah. Yeah, Cheryl, please.
Can you hear me
No, your voice is not clear.
now? Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh boy. Can you hear me now?
Can't hear. Can't hear.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, in the meantime, I think Robert can ask his question. We'll get back to you, Cheryl. Just give us a second. Robert,
Cheryl, write it in the chat.
Thank you very much, President. And thank you, PDG Sylvia. I think your efforts deserve a big hand clap. I've got a question for you, PDG Sylvia. I would like to know from your standpoint, why has it taken Rotary over 30 years to elect a female president? Do you think that is the organization has got still some Rotarians with misogynistic views at the top of the organization, those who elect? I thank you.
I can't tell you why it's taken over 30 years to get a female president, and she's a good person. It's not just female. She's a good Rotarian. So I can't tell you why. But you know what? Things change slowly. Look, it took 11 years just to get a woman in, so geez, but at least we're there. Let's not worry about why it took that long. Let's just keep moving in that direction. There are still people who are not used to the fact that women can be in charge, can take care of things. So what can I tell you? Now we have women on the board of directors, a lot of women on the board of directors. We have equity. So, it's moving in the right direction, and that's what we need to celebrate and not worry about what went past. Thank you for that question.
Cheryl, you can try and ask your question now.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
But
Hello?
your voice is cracking. You can either put it on the chat, we'll read it out.
Cheryl, put it in the chat.
Dr. Kajal, you can ask your question.
Thank you, President. My question to you, PDG Sylvia, ma'am, when you were struggling to see that female managed to get into Rotary, did you ever think that a day would come when there would be exclusively ladies Rotary Club? Am I audible?
While we were struggling, we behaved just like Rotarians. We didn't do Rotarian projects, international projects, but we did everything we did as Rotarians in the district before. We did it as ex-Rotary people, and of course, our goal wasn't to get a president of Rotary who was female. Our goal was to get service, and women were able to do service, and that's what we wanted. So That's what we thought about it. That's what kept us going.
Thank you. But the dream of having exclusively ladies club, now we have 4 exclusively ladies club in RID 3262.
I know, isn't that interesting?
And we have enough members belonging to 60 plus and 20 plus.
You know what? It takes two to tango. You know,
You should.
women know, yeah, women know more about women's things and they can explain to women. Men know more about men's things and they can explain to women. You know,
Thank you.
to men, they can explain to each other. That's we help each other. That's why there's a male and a female.
Thank you, Sylvia, for opening the door. And now it is wide open. All the gates are open. Thank you.
EP Rukmani, please. EP Rukmani, you can ask your question.
Okay, I don't have any question, as Kajal is also our member, 3262 Passport Club. We are very happy that PDG Silva has done lot of work for women, and we are having women clubs. We are very happy to serve all the people in all the communities. We are very happy for the work she has done. Today we are here. Nothing more than that. Hats up to her. Hats up to her for her work for 35 years. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You know what? An interesting thing. There are a lot of clubs now in a lot of places working on girls' health, especially menstrual health. And we never used to even talk about, and we never would have even talked about if there had not been women in Rotary. And it's such a every woman in the world has to deal with this, and it's something that we need to work on. So
yeah, we are working girls and women mostly to come.
Cheryl, you can try now once again, please.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you a little better.
Yes, a bit better.
Thank you. Listen, like I said before, this is my favorite Rotary story, and it has become part of my favorite Rotary story. PDG Sylvia, you know you are my hero, and I thank you because it's your shoulders that I stand on as a member of this wonderful Rotary movement. And you asked, what would Paul Harris say about having women in Rotary? And I believe he would say this because he did say it in 1935. This is a changing world, and Rotary will change with it. And so we will have to write the story over again and again. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think you're right, Cheryl. I think that's exactly what Paul Harris would have said. And he acknowledged the fact that it was a changing world. That's why there's a Rotary. And hey, more power to you and to all the women and the men who work together.
EP Gul, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, thanks, Vijay. Good evening, all. PDG Sylvia, really you have fought a big battle. Great you are. On the same thing, today we are having only women club. Do you feel, is there a need of this?
Do I think there is what?
A need of all women's club in today's time.
I can't hear that.
He says, is all women's club needed in today's time?
Oh, you know, there are all women's clubs. I think, you know, I think there's an advantage to having both genders in a club because one knows more about themselves and they can share it with another. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think in the spirit of what we have done to make Rotary available, inclusive, and to have equity and diversity, I think a single gender club is not a good thing.
Thank you, thank you.
There's some people who do it.
Yeah.
I would rather have them working for Rotary than not doing it.
Thanks for your frank opinion.
any other question before I hand it to the president? Anybody would like to ask another question or any comment? Thank you, friends. I would now hand back to President Sandeep for further proceedings. Sandeep, all yours.
Jay, thank you, Dr. Sylvia. I now
Thank you.
request our past President Gul to give vote of thanks. President Gul.
Yeah. Thank you, our fresh President Sandeep. Friends, Sandeep started just 1 week back and today handling a global meeting. Sandeep, great with you.
Thank you.
Friends, we have the dignitaries from around all the countries, many countries around the globe. And such a meeting can only because of one man, Vijay Kevalamani. A hearty thanks to Vijay. You are a great connector. Thank you, Vijay. I thank all the presidents. Yes, all the 4 presidents who are the host club for today's meeting. PDG Sylvia, I shall share that I belong to the club, Rotary Club Ulhasnagar, which is 53 years old, and we are having first woman president, that is Manisha, which is in today's meeting also. So great to have a woman president for my club is because of you. Thank you. And happy to say that really women can lead better because they have more caring heart than the man. And anyway, but it's truth. And I heartily thank all the persons, all the Rotarians who could take the time from their busy schedules and attend this meeting. And lastly, but not last, our PDG Sylvia Whitlock, great efforts. The words cannot describe your fight, describe your missions, describe your passion. That all the women around the world enjoying today the membership in Rotary is because of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for guiding this, doing this in the world. A great thanks to you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, past President Gul. Now I request President Sandeep Sahani from Rotary Club of Navi Mumbai, Palm Beach to present the certificate to Dr. Sylvia.
Sandeep is not there. I would request President-elect Sushma Tomar to read out the certificate for PDG Sylvia.
Can I come on the screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Vijayji, can I come on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, you are there. Na? This is the shared screen. You can just read it out.
Good evening, everyone. This is good evening, Sylvia ma'am. I'm Dr. Tomar here. So this is certification for appreciation. This certificate is proudly present to PGD Dr. Sylvia Whitlock for being a speaker as historical sharing session at evening with the PDG Dr. Sylvia Whitlock. Good evening and thanks, Vijay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sushma ji. This is signed by all the presidents of the co-host. Sylvia, we will be emailing you this certificate in some time. Thank you. Sandeep ji for the next proceeding.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Tomar. Thank you, Dr. Sylvia. We now adjourn the meeting, today's meeting, and floor is open for fellowship.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, today the maximum attendance was 75 from over 15 countries.
Wow, great, Vijay, great.
So thanks to the PDG Sylvia, she was the magnet which has attracted so many Rotarians from across the globe. We are honored to have you. The floor is open. Everybody can unmute and chat.
How many
We'll have
different
a fellowship
countries
for
were
every-
involved?
15.
PJ?
15, 1 5.
15.
How many?
15, sir.
15,
1 5.
5.
Oh, 15. Okay, thank you. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We had right from Africa, Nepal, Pakistan, and all. We were represented. Sri Lanka, Stephanie is here. Welcome, Stephanie.
Bahamas.
Bahamas,
Virgin
Thank
Islands,
you.
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Not many
Yeah, I was
countries. I will
very-
just list out and circulate later. And I think Dominica is proud to say that her district has the maximum attendance. Congratulations, Dominica. Welcome.
Yeah, I think it's about 6 or 7. I've seen several people from my district coming on. Bearing in mind that my district has 10 countries in it, but it's been very well represented. Hi, Sheila, and I've seen a few others. Cheryl is from my district. We have Desmond.
Hi,
from-
Dominica.
Yeah, it's we've done
Hi,
very
Cheryl.
well this morning.
Charlene.
We had a lot of president-elect women who president-elects from different clubs. Koni from Sonde and Reet Kumar from this one. Reet Kumar and Preeti from our district. And Priya Pillai, past president, was there. Definitely, I would like to thank Shannon for introducing me to Sylvia. It was because of her that I could connect to her and invite her over here.
Oh.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks for carrying forward the torch. I think we're not going to be satisfied until Dr. Whitlock makes her presentation to all the districts.
That's it. Well, fellow Rotarians, I must take my leave. My day is just starting now. It's now 20 minutes to 11. So I gotta go and do some work.
A shout out from Africa, West Africa, Ghana.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
West Africa, Ghana, shout out
had-
from us.
Yeah,
Good.
welcome. We were represented by Ghana, Nigeria,
Yes.
Sonde, Uganda,
Yeah.
Koni. I can still
We
see
didn't
Koni
hear our
over
names
here.
being mentioned, so thank you.
Also, I want to give a shout out from Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., America's National Rotary Club. We meet every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time now. And we're always open to have visitors from all over the world to come to our club. And so we have many from the African continent, India, of course, many other places around the world. So please remember us on Wednesdays, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. In Washington, D.C. And if you're visiting, we certainly invite you to come to our meetings.
Sam, do you meet on Zoom or do you have hybrid meetings?
We have hybrid meetings the first and third Wednesday of each month, and then the second, fourth, and if there's a fifth, those are only Zoom meetings. But we have Zoom meetings. Every meeting is a Zoom meeting.
Oh, every meeting is a Zoom meeting. And what time on Wednesday?
It's 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. and that's Eastern Daylight Time, U.S. So right now,
It's around
we
your
are-
time, Dominica.
Yeah, we're 11:05 a.m. right now.
Okay. Where's the location?
It's in downtown Washington, D.C. at the University Club.
Okay,
Um,
I'll be coming to the US from Ghana sometime in June, so I would like to pay you a visit then.
Yeah,
I know where
yeah,
it is.
and if you're in town and it's the second or fourth Wednesday, then you can always join by Zoom. We only meet in person on the first and third, but we do need advance registrations for that. But you can go to our website and sign up.
Okay.
I would,
Thank
I would
you.
like to welcome Dhanraj Hotwani from Pakistan, Hyderabad.
Yes,
Dhanraj,
sir.
welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, fine.
Fine. And
Fine.
I would also like to
I am
welcome our
Dhanraj.
past friend Supriya. Yeah, Dhanraj ji, boliye.
I introduce myself. I am Dhanraj Hotwani and District 3271, Sindh and Balochistan. And I am immediate past president and now designated AG for year 22-23. And my club name is Rotary Club of Mirpur Khas Paradise. It is border area of Rajasthan. Mirpur Khas is border area of Rajasthan, the Indian provinces. And I work on especially environment and tree plantation and water and sanitation and literacy by my clubs with my support of my club and my club charter in 2016 and now our member of 26 in my club.
Dhanraj ji, we are coming to Pakistan next year.
Oh, welcome, welcome, sir. We are very famous in hospitality for our neighbors and friends and guests.
Supriya, you would like to say something? Past President Supriya, welcome.
I invite to all my friends, welcome to our club host to all of you.
Vijay sir, thank you so much.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, there was some problem with your audio earlier, so we could not connect you there, but ultimately it got okay. Cheryl, you want to speak something? Yeah, please, still this. You please come closer to the system and speak because otherwise we are not able to hear you at all.
Okay. I'll put it in the
Sushma ji, thanks for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Sushma ji, you're muted, you know.
Abhi boliye Sushma ji, you can speak. Nagjyoti is quiet today.
No, the meeting was excellent. Thank you so much, PP Vijay. Excellent hearing
Dr. Sam,
every.
yeah, Dr. Sam, Cheryl has a message for you on chat.
Yes, go ahead.
She's written her club meets the same day and time as yours, but will definitely find a way to visit your club meeting. And PDG Sylvia has written a book with the same story. It's called Women Also Serve. So if you can share the link, if it is available on Amazon and all that, Cheryl, if you can share the link on the chat.
You mean the link to our Rotary Club website?
No. PDG Sylvia has written a book on what she spoke today, Women Also Serve. So if you can share the link, so most members can be benefited and we can circulate it.
You're asking me to
No,
find
Dr. Sam,
that?
she says Dr. Sam, she has informed you that she will visit your club once. Although her club meeting clashes with your club, but she will definitely make it a point to visit your club meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. We're the first and third Wednesday of every month. And if you just come to our homepage, the link will be there and they can just click in. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, Vijay Keval Ramani and Sandeep. Thank you very much and goodbye. And we will wait for you in Pakistan.
माता के बुधाई न मो डी बुधाई न मो सनी पहले ही ना
सर इंतजार कर रहे हो तो आ जाओ
हाँ
जो ता ठीक है हो
हाँ एकदम मजे में
जबरदस्त ता किथे होंदा हो अहमदाबाद में
बॉम्बे बॉम्बे
अच्छा बॉम्बे होंदा है जबरदस्त मुझे ब्रदर वडो ब्रदर वो हिते अहमदाबाद में होंदा है
अच्छा हाँ ता बुधायो
ठीक है
Thanks,
you sir
Cheryl. Thanks for joining. Thank you.
thank you very much गॾु next time
You.
buddy
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Bull.
much for
Thanks.
organizing such
Thanks.
a wonderful meeting.
Vijay sir.
Thanks, Stephanie, for joining. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Dr. Sankog. In spite of your busy schedule, as you informed me in the morning, you were able to join. Thank you very much.
It's
Vijay
always
sir,
good to
अपना
be
next
here and
meeting-
support anything you're doing, Vijay.
Thank you, sir.
Wishing all
Sunil?
of you a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, and those who have missed it, I will share the YouTube link. You can watch the whole recording on YouTube.
Okay. Thanks, Vijay.